Elliot Carter was just an ordinary man. He wasn't tall or short, rich or poor, and he didn't stand out in any way. He lived a quiet life in a small apartment in the heart of the city, working as an accountant for a firm he had been with for 5 years. Most days, his routine was the same. Wake up, go to work, come home, have dinner, and repeat. He never complained, but he often felt like something was missing in his life. What Elliot didn't know was that his world was about to change in a way he could never have imagined. Beneath the surface of his ordinary life, there were things he couldn't see, things that had been watching him for a long time. Luna had been watching him for years. She didn't know why, but something about Elliot intrigued her. She wasn't like other people. She was from a hidden world, a civilization that lived secretly among humans, observing from the shadows. Luna had always kept to herself, never revealing her true nature to anyone, but Elliot was different. There was something about him, his kindness, his calmness, and his natural ability to see the good in others, that drew her in. Luna often found herself walking in the same parks as Elliot, sitting on the same benches, and even walking down the same streets. She didn't interact with him directly. That would be too dangerous. The people from her world were not supposed to get involved with humans, but Luna couldn't stop herself. There was a pull she couldn't explain. She saw things in Elliot that no one else saw. His quiet strength, his resilience in the face of a world that seemed to be falling apart. To her, he was special. At first, Luna didn't tell anyone about her fascination with him. She kept it a secret. But her sister Astrid was different. Astrid was more connected to the hidden world, and she was always looking for ways to understand humans, studying them from afar. When Luna finally confided in her about Elliot, Astrid was intrigued. "You've been watching him, haven't you?" Astrid had asked, a hint of amusement in her voice. Luna nodded but didn't say anything else. Astrid knew better than to push. She understood Luna's attachment, though she didn't share the same fascination. But something changed in Astrid as the days went by. She began to notice things about Elliot that Luna had pointed out. His ability to solve problems that others found impossible, the way he always helped others without expecting anything in return, and the way he always seemed calm, no matter what life threw at him. Astrid, too, found herself intrigued. She hadn't expected to feel this way about a human. After all, she had seen hundreds of humans in her lifetime, and none of them had caught her attention. But Elliot was different. She wasn't sure why, but there was something about him that made her curious. The strange thing was, neither Luna nor Astrid could explain it. It wasn't just that Elliot was kind or clever. There was something else. An energy, a feeling that lingered whenever he was near. Neither of them knew it yet, but Elliot was special in ways they couldn't understand. Elliot, of course, had no idea about any of this. His life went on as usual. He woke up one morning like any other, took the bus to work, and sat at his desk doing his calculations. The day was no different from any other until something strange happened. As he sat at his desk, staring at the computer screen, he suddenly felt an overwhelming sense of déjà vu. It was as though he had been here before, doing this exact thing in this exact place at this exact time. He shook his head, thinking it was just the stress of work getting to him. But the feeling wouldn't go away. It grew stronger with each passing minute. He closed his eyes, trying to shake off the feeling, but it lingered, like a whisper in the back of his mind. At the same time, Luna felt it too. She didn't understand it, but she could feel a shift in the air. Something was changing. She had never experienced anything like this before. She was no longer just an observer. Something was pulling her closer to Elliot. She couldn't explain it, but she knew that whatever was happening, it was important. Luna made her decision that day. She couldn't stay away from him any longer. She would reveal herself just enough to let him know he was not as ordinary as he thought. She didn't know what would happen after that, but she couldn't stay in the shadows anymore. The time had come. Later that evening after work, Elliot walked to the park, a place he liked to visit when he wanted to clear his mind. It was the same park where Luna often sat, watching him from afar. As he walked through the gate, he felt the same strange pull he had felt earlier. This time it wasn't just a feeling, it was real. He looked around, but no one was there. Or at least no one he could see. He was about to turn and leave when he saw her. Luna. She was sitting on a bench looking at him, her eyes dark and intense. She was beautiful, but not in the way most people would describe. There was something otherworldly about her. something that made his heart race, though he couldn't explain why. Luna stood up slowly, her eyes never leaving his. She took a few steps toward him, and Elliot froze. This wasn't normal. This wasn't like any other moment in his life. He felt as though he was standing at the edge of something huge, something life-changing. "I've been watching you, Elliot," Luna said softly, her voice calm but filled with an intensity that made his heart skip a beat. "And I think it's time you knew the truth." Elliot's eyes widened, but before he could say anything, she reached out, gently touching his arm. The contact sent a shock of electricity through him, and for the first time he felt truly awake. Like he had been living in a dream and was now finally seeing the world for what it truly was. "I don't understand," he whispered. Elliot stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. Luna's touch had stirred something inside him, something he couldn't explain. She was no ordinary woman. He had sensed that from the first moment he saw her, but now, standing in front of him, she was even more than he could have imagined. "I've been watching you, Elliot," Luna repeated softly, her eyes never leaving his. "You're not as ordinary as you think." Elliot blinked, still trying to process what was happening. He had always considered himself to be just a regular guy. Sure, he was kind, but so were many people. He had no special talents, no extraordinary gifts. But Luna's words didn't make sense. How could he be special? How could he be anything more than the man he saw every morning in the mirror? Before he could speak, Luna stepped closer. "Come with me," she said, her voice calm and reassuring. "There's something you need to know." Elliot hesitated, unsure of what to do. He had never been one to trust easily, but there was something about Luna that made him want to believe her. Something about her presence felt familiar, as though he had known her for a lifetime even though they had only just met. I don't know," he began, his voice shaky. "This is all so strange." Luna smiled gently. "I know it's hard to understand, but you'll understand soon enough." With a soft motion of her hand, she gestured for him to follow her. Elliot, torn between fear and curiosity, finally nodded and stepped forward. They walked in silence for a few minutes, the soft hum of the city fading as they moved deeper into the park. Soon they were walking along a secluded path, away from the busy streets and the noise of the world. The trees around them seemed to grow thicker, casting long shadows that made the night feel even more mysterious. After what felt like an eternity, Luna stopped in front of a tall, ancient oak tree. She touched the bark gently, and suddenly the air around them seemed to shimmer. Elliot blinked in surprise, feeling a sudden rush of energy, as though the very ground beneath his feet was shifting. He opened his mouth to ask what was happening, but before he could speak, Luna turned to him and said, "This is where it begins." With a swift motion, she pressed her hand against the tree and the bark began to glow softly. Elliot's eyes widened as he watched, unsure of what he was seeing. The tree seemed to open, revealing a hidden doorway, a doorway that hadn't been there a moment before. Luna looked at him, her gaze intense. "We're going to my world. You need to see it for yourself. You need to understand what's been happening to you." Elliot swallowed hard, his heart racing. "Your world?" he repeated, his voice barely a whisper. "But how? What are you talking about?" Luna stepped through the doorway without hesitation, and Elliot, almost against his will, followed. As he crossed the threshold, he felt a sudden pull, as if he was being lifted by an invisible force. The world around him seemed to twist and blur, and for a moment he lost all sense of time and space. Then, just as suddenly, everything stopped. Elliot stumbled, his hand shooting out to steady himself against a nearby rock. He looked around and his jaw dropped. They were no longer in the park. The sky above them was a brilliant shade of violet, dotted with strange stars that seemed to pulse with energy. The ground beneath their feet was soft and springy like moss, and the air smelled fresh and sweet, as if he had just stepped into a dream. Luna stood beside him, watching him carefully. "Welcome to my world," she said softly. "This is the hidden world, the place where my people live." Elliot's mind spun. "But this is impossible. How is this even real?" "It's real, Elliot, and so are you," Luna replied. "You are not just any human. You were born for something much greater." Elliot stared at her, trying to make sense of what she was saying. "Born for something greater? What do you mean?" Luna took a deep breath. "You are part of an ancient prophecy, Elliot. A prophecy that was written long before you were even born. You are the key to saving not only this world but yours as well. Your existence, though ordinary to you, is anything but. You have a purpose. And that purpose is tied to the future of both our worlds. Elliot shook his head, his thoughts a jumble of confusion and disbelief. I don't understand. I'm just a regular guy. I work an office job. I don't have any special abilities. What kind of prophecy are you talking about? Luna's expression softened. I know it's hard to believe, but you were chosen, Elliot. Chosen to fulfill a destiny that has been waiting for you even if you didn't know it. There are forces at play here, forces that want to keep you from discovering the truth. And that's why I've been watching you, to protect you. As she spoke, Elliot felt a strange sense of calm wash over him. The doubt and confusion that had clouded his mind began to lift, replaced by a deep sense of knowing, as though Luna's words were reaching into a part of him he didn't understand. He couldn't explain it, but he felt like he was meant to be here. Like he had always been meant to find this world. But even as he started to believe her, something else tugged at his mind. Another presence, one that he couldn't quite place, lingered in the air. He wasn't alone. He turned around, and that's when he saw her. Astrid, Luna's sister, was standing a few paces away, watching them with a piercing gaze. She was tall, with silver hair that shimmered like moonlight, and her presence was as powerful as it was intimidating. Who is she? Elliot asked, his voice cautious. Luna's expression darkened slightly, and for the first time, Elliot saw a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. That's my sister, Astrid. She's complicated. Astrid stepped forward, her eyes never leaving Elliot. I've heard about you, she said, her voice smooth and calculating. The human who is more than just a man. It seems Luna has grown quite fond of you. Elliot felt the tension in the air grow thick. He had no idea what was going on, but one thing was clear. There was a lot more at stake than he could have ever imagined.